Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Ali. If you're new here, hello. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you for being here. It is another reading wrap-up. This is everything that I have read in November. It's crazy that it is already the end of the year. This year has legitimately flown by so fast. While I deal with the existential crisis of that, we'll talk about everything that I read. Holiday month, so there was a solid week and a half where I didn't read anything. Even with that, I had a pretty good month. I ended up reading 10 books. One of them was audio, but I'm gonna include it because I think audiobooks count as reading. 9 books, 1 audiobook. And we'll get right into it. So the first thing that I read was Devotions, the Selected Poems of Mary Oliver by Mary Oliver. Mary Oliver is a pretty popular poet. They're ones that get put over aesthetic videos all the time, but I didn't know any of her work besides the ones that went viral. I'm not big into poetry, but I do enjoy it. I don't know the logistics of poetry and could sit here and big brain poetry like that, but I do enjoy it. So I bought one of her collections of poem books. It's pretty big. Most poem books you can read pretty quick, and this one you can, but it's still one of the biggest ones I've ever read. I ended up 4-starring this. I did really enjoy it. It has a lot of her more famous ones, then it has a lot more personal individual ones. It's got a wide range of things that it covers, so there's kind of just a little bit for everyone in here. I thought it was really good. I would read more of her stuff for sure. And it was just a nice little poetry book. This is one of my favorites, honestly. I love Mary Oliver. I'm officially a fan, if I wasn't already. I then read a book that took me a while to finish, but not in a bad way. I read The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. That's hard for me to say. Hodgson. The DG is hard for me to pronounce. I don't know why. Hodgson. Antonia Hodgson. I read The Raven Scholar. I really enjoyed this. I gave this a 4.25. I did annotate this, which I wasn't expecting, but I annotated it, had notes. I was a lot more into this than I was expecting. I didn't know much about it. I went in kind of blind. I just knew that people that had read it enjoyed it. So, oh, I left my bookmark in it. I was expecting to like it, but honestly not as much as I did. I never realized how untrusting I was until I read this book. I trusted no one. I thought everyone at every moment was going to betray people. This is very small subplot of romance, barely there, but it's enough to keep you going. This is a fantasy academic thing. How would you describe this book? I wouldn't necessarily call this dark academia. It's fantasy academia in a way. If you like the settings of R.F. Kuang books or something like Blood Over Brighthaven, I think you would enjoy this. The main character that we're following is Nima Kra. The magic system of this reminds me a lot of zodiacs, Chinese zodiacs, where it's the year of the bear, the year of the snake, the year of the chicken, everything. They all have different houses you pledge to. There's the raven, the monkey, the dragon, the tiger. But there is a bunch of different houses that everyone pledges their services to. 8, I believe, 8 or 10 years. There is a trial where all of the houses a champion in. Whoever wins is the new king, president, leader for the next amount of term years, which is 8, 10, something, I don't remember. But Nima is a academic, is kind of a lower class born person and goes through all of the schooling, deals with a lot of racism things. She's very much someone that thrives on academic praise. She has a rival who she works very closely with, but she becomes a right-hand man, personal assistant to the current king, and his term is up and they have to pick a new king. Nima is also in the Raven House. Her academic rival is picked as the Raven champion. Right before the trials begin, her academic rival is found dead. So you have the rival academic of it all, but also a really interesting subplot of a murder mystery whodunit. And I thought that aspect of it was so entertaining. I had no idea where it was going. That of it all made me not trust anyone in this book. There is a very small side plot of romance, which wasn't necessarily my favorite, and I think that's what made this not a 5 stars. I wasn't necessarily sold on the romance. I didn't hate it. There's been worse written romance, but in terms of it, I didn't necessarily believe them. Like, I believed that they were friends, but I guess I didn't really believe that they were anything other than that. Everyone in this book is a very complex character. You're dealing with another side character who is kind of the top contender who everybody thinks is going to win, but nobody likes him because he has a terrible history that's kind of irredeemable. This entire book I was like, I swear to God, if they try and give this guy a character arc, I will purposely like set this book on fire because I don't think he deserves to have a character arc. Like, they're all very kind of morally gray, interesting characters where you're rooting for them at sometimes, and other times it's like, I forgot you did this really shitty thing that you don't really deserve to come back from. Overall, I enjoy it. The magic system sometimes can be a little bit dense. There's a lot of different elements to it, but with it, it's very interesting. I don't want to like say too much and spoil it. There's an interesting like internal monologue that you're dealing with that's kind of personified, which is interesting. Yeah, I just think what made it not a 5 star was the characters themselves, which is, I'm sure, the point and everything, but it's like you're kind of rooting against the character arcs sometimes, which is, in a way, refreshing. I like a complex character, but some of them just irked me and I didn't want to read about them. I think other than some of the characters just being personally, for me, feeling irredeemable, and the small subplot of romance not feeling very convincing is what made it not a 5 star. But overall, this was like really compelling to read and really entertaining. I had no idea where it was going this entire book, and I will definitely be reading a second one. If you're someone that likes a fantasy academia that is fine with a small thing of subplot romance, I think that this is really good. It is really unique, really interesting. It can be a little bit dense sometimes, which is why I think it took me a minute to get through, but I was also, like, it always takes me longer to read things when I'm, like, fully sitting down and annotating stuff, which I was. So it took me a little bit longer than normal, but, like, I have entire, like, I'm writing up paragraphs of what I think is happening. I was enthralled. The romance not being the best and some characters being annoying was not enough to make me not write entire paragraphs of my personal predictions of what I think is going to happen. This book looks intimidating. It's very big. It can be a little bit dense sometimes, but I definitely still suggest it, and I'm really interested to see where it goes because I honestly have no idea. I have no idea where we're gonna go from here, and I'm really excited to find out. I then did a really big vibe switch. I only have one of the physical books, but I read the entire DC SARS series by Chelsea Curto. I only have Slapshot, which is the 3rd book, because I did a vlog of it. My last video was, but I got a chance to meet them, and I got one of my books signed. This was one of my personal favorites, so I brought that one along specifically to have it signed. Chelsea, sweet, wonderful, love her. The next book for this comes out next week, so it's a great time to start this series if you're a hockey romance fan, because the newest one will be out very soon. This is just a hockey romance companion novel series. This was one of my favorite that I've read in a while. I feel like a lot of sports romance, specifically hockey romance, there are so many of them that after you've read like 2 or 3 series, it kind of feels like you've read it all, where it's kind of the typical, oh, you know, this guy's the golden boy, this guy's the playboy that never settles down, and this one is the coach's daughter, and it's like, they've all kind of been done after you've read a few, so sometimes they lose their, like, oomph, at least for me, where I'll be like, I've read this plotline a million times and therefore, like, not super enjoying it. But these ones I thought were pretty good in the terms of things that have been done a million times. The first one is Face Off. I gave this 3.2, 3.25. I thought this one was the most unique that I've read in a while. This one is women in the NHL. Now exists the PWHL. I personally am a fan of Minnesota Frost 2-time winners. I'm looking at my New York Sirens shirt right off to the corner because I did get to go to a PWHL game last year. That was New York Sirens versus Boston. But besides the point, Face Off follows Emmy Hartman, who is the first woman to ever brought up to an NHL team. So she's the first woman to ever play in the NHL. And it is a romance between her and the team captain, who is the stereotypical playboy guy. But I thought that this one, for that aspect of it being women brought into professional sports, was really unique, and I like the way that it was written. There's a really cute scene of him wearing her jersey and stuff. It just felt like a really refreshing flip on things, and as someone who is a women's hockey fan, it just made me really happy to see it in that light. The second one is Power Play, which I think is kind of my least favorite out of them all. This is just a classic Grumpy Sunshine. It was fine. It was another one where it's like, it's a Grumpy Sunshine, like it's been done 100 times, the Grumpy Sunshine of it all. Individually, our love interests are Piper, who is a rinkside reporter, covers all the in-game action, and the goalie of the team are doing the trope of like teaching each other about sex thing of it all, which is like isn't necessarily my favorite. The first one is a little bit more rivalries to lovers. The second one is like, I'm gonna teach you things, which isn't necessarily my favorite, but it was alright. Slapshot that I got signed, this one I'm personally biased to because it has deaf characters. This follows Hudson, needs a new, I'm staring at the back of my book because there's like, I must have got something on it because there's like sticky stuff on the back of my book and I'm trying to scrape it off. But this follows Hudson, who is in the market for a new chef. He's always practicing and gone so much that he's A, not a good cook, and B, doesn't have the time to. So he puts out an ad for a professional chef. He hires a single mom whose daughter is deaf. He ends up having to learn ASL. And as someone who's deaf, I'm just always biased to a deaf book, and I thought that this was written so well. Sometimes children characters in romance books kind of annoy me because it's like, I feel like they're either mentally aged way up for what it would be like a 6-year-old that's asking you some existential question about love that like would be like, why would a kid think this? Or they're like 10 and or like, I don't know what math is. Like, I feel like kids are always written weird, in my opinion. They're either like feel way older than what they should be or way younger than what they are and just are kind of annoying. But I thought that this relationship was written really well and I enjoyed it. I love a deaf representation book. So I think that's what makes the DC Stars just a little bit more unique, is it is the tropes that all been done before, but there's a little bit of something in each book that's slightly different from everything else. You have the women in hockey, you have rinkside reporters, you have deaf representation, and then fourth book, which I also really enjoyed, it's right up there with this one, Hat Trick, is dealing with a lot of disabilities. This has a trigger warning for loss of a limb. This follows Riley, who ends up in a car accident and is left permanently altered and can no longer do the things that he normally wants to do in his life. This is a, like, he falls first. Since these are all companion novels, you're seeing all of these characters in each book, and Riley is one that's kind of hinted at the entire series about how he's always had a crush on their athletic trainer. He's like too shy to do anything about it, so it's a romance between him and their athletic trainer who is helping him trying to like regain his confidence after he goes through this really bad accident. And I enjoyed that one as well. I think my top two right now are Slapshot and Hat Trick. So if you're looking for a hockey romance that's just got a little bit something different in it, I definitely recommend this series. Again, 5 Sin Bin comes out on the 10th, I think, of this month. So it's a good time to get caught up on all of them. I kind of lucked out where I only had to wait a couple weeks before the next one came. In terms of hockey romance, this has been really refreshing because there's a little bit of uniqueness to everything. And shout out to Chelsea because she was a pleasure to meet, and I'm so happy that I got one of her books signed. Feel free to go watch that video if you want. I will make sure to link it. I then did another big vibe switch and I read The Buffalo Hunter Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. I 4-starred this. I really liked it. This book is another one that kind of dense in the writing style of it all. It's not be a 5-star. Was compelled to read it because I wanted to see what happened to the characters. All of like the side plot of it I didn't really care for. Maybe this will make sense after I explain. The Buffalo Hunter Hunter, I didn't know much about going into. It is a little bit of a dual timeline. You are in the modern day she's the modern day main character. She is like a professor, I believe, and she finds this old diary from like her four great grandpa from like the 1800s, and she's going to read it and like write a paper about it and like get her family history and whatever. And through this journal by her four great grandpa, who ends up being like a old school Lutheran pastor, he is writing down the confessions of a Native American man. And as you are taken back in time and reliving these journal entries, this Native American man is a vampire, and he spends his life getting revenge on all of the people who have ever harmed his people, which is the overarching theme of this book, which is very interesting. So like that aspect of it is really compelling, but it's like that's the only reason that I was really reading it. It was the vampire of it all that like kept me going. Like sometimes just the writing style of this was so dense, it was just kind of like hard to get through. And like our modern main character, I didn't really care about. There was nothing about her character that I was like, I care about you. Like anytime I went back to her POV, I was like, I don't care. I just want to read about the vampire native guy. That's all I care about. I didn't. Oh, I'm sorry. I whacked Addie with a book. He's sitting right here. Say hello. Say Mama whacked me with a book. So, ugh, cat hair in my mouth now. Ugh, I need to brush you. You're shedding. It was like I cared about our native main character, and that was it. I didn't really care about the grandpa. I didn't care about the main author. I wanted to know what native guy was doing. It can be a little bit graphic at some time. Careful, don't knock over the camera, please. Addie's playing with stuff. It can be a little bit graphic, so I would maybe, if there's trigger warnings for this, look them up. So if you're not really like a gory blood person, you might not care for it, but I personally am fine with that, so I like description-wise, it was pretty interesting. It just sometimes felt like it drug, and there was only like one of three characters that I actually cared about. But I did read it, and I did think it was good, and I do recommend it. It just can be a little bit slow at some points. I then had yet another vibe switch. I read Save Us by Mona Caston. This is the third Maxton Hall book. I feel like I've been talking about this series for the past like 3 months because each book has been coming out each month. This is the last book in the Maxton Hall series. This is a show on Prime. The third book is going to be the third season. The second season, I believe, just finished. I'm like an episode behind, but I've read the books, so I know what happens. But this is the first time all of the books have been printed in English. The show and the books are all in German. They're dubbed over into English for the show, but this is the first time the books were formally printed in English. I give this 3 stars. In general, the book series to me is like a 3-star. Had I read these in middle school, I would have been obsessed with them. I would have been just as obsessed with these as I was like To All the Boys I Love Before or something. Reading this as 26, definitely it feels school, which like this whole thing is just a high school drama show. Very good. I definitely like the show a little bit better. I think they aged it up in a way that makes it a lot more entertaining as an adult than what it is in the books. But I'm so glad that I read the books because the books in the show have really big cliffhangers, so I'm glad that I know where everything is going because it can be kind of stressful. So if you are watching Maxton Hall, I do suggest reading the books. They're so small. They read so quick because they are big words, small margins, like very YA. Like I read this in a day, 100%. They're so small. The book is barely over 300 pages, 320, and all of them are about that size. But they will just give you the comfort of knowing what's happening. I've talked about this series a lot. In general, this follows Ruby and James. James is the super fancy rich kid, and Ruby is poor and gets to go to the fancy rich kid school. And so she and James don't like each other because she's like, you're rich and you're a jerk, and he's like, you're poor, so I don't like poor people. They're forced to work together where they're like, maybe you're not who you are. Maybe cool people can be poor and poor people can be cool, and it's the high school drama of it all. God damn it, it's entertaining. I suggest reading the books if you're going to watch the show. It will just take away a lot of the inner turmoil of what's happening because it can be dramatic for sure. I then listened to the audiobook Bound by Ali Hazelwood. This is, as of right now, an audio-only release. She's had before audio-only releases that, like, a year down the line or something got traditionally published, which I'm really hoping for, because genuinely, I loved this. I 5-starred this. I'm not kidding, this is one of my favorite things that Allie Hazelwood has ever written. I am not usually an audiobook person. I'll listen to them in tandem of reading, where if I come home from work and I have a bunch of dishes I need to do, so I can't physically read a book, I'll like bring up an audiobook and listen to it out loud until I'm done doing what I'm doing, and then but I'm never usually just a sit down and listen to an audiobook start to finish person. I'm usually doing it in tandem. Was going into it a little apprehensive that I wouldn't like it because it's not a medium I normally do. It was so good. Again, I 5-starred it. I'm obsessed with this. I want to get a notebook and listen to this audiobook and with my own hand write this down on paper so that I can read it. Even though I could go and listen to the audiobook anytime I want, but like I physically need this in my hand. This is one of my favorite things she's ever written. This is more dark academia setting than it is like science. Victor is one of my favorite characters she's ever written. This is following Veronica, Vero, as she's usually called throughout the books. She has a bit of a troubled life. Her parents have been in and out of prison a lot. They got involved in a lot of like cons and scams throughout her life. He's messing with the camera again. He doesn't like my angle. Her parents were just in general like grifters that were scamming people out of stuff and going to prison for it. Goes to college for like art histories, and she ends up getting a job at like an antique reseller store as just a way to make money to help her pay for school. And she kind of has an internal moral rule that she does not want to turn out like her parents, is doing her best to like make a positive name for herself and not be her parents' child and get in trouble for scamming and blah blah blah. Like if she needs money, she's gonna get a job and work for it and not take it out on innocent people. Where she is then met with Forgery Hustle. The owner of the antique store she is working at is like, the store is gonna close or run out of money. We need to make like a big deal, sell something really expensive. His bright idea is to con a really famous old piece of, I forget if it's like a page of like the Bible or something, but he's like, what if we forge it and sell it for millions of dollars? And he knows that Vero is super skilled in art history itself to know what to look for, but he also knows that she has like a past in this and is very good at it. So reluctantly, Vero agrees to do this forgery side hustle with her boss, makes a lot of money for it, but also kind of catches the attention of the wrong people. She draws the attention of Dr. Victor Ashworth, who I love down bad. He's one of my favorite people ever written. He is a professor at her college that she's seen around but hasn't really taken any of her classes. He politely kidnaps her and is like, I have a deal for you. I've seen the other things that you're scamming. I know that they're fake, but they're really fucking good. I have this like 1 in a million super important thing that I need you to forge so that I can like save the world. As dramatic as it sounds. It's like a mysterious manuscript thing, an old book of like what looks like grimoire spells, and he's like, I need you to forge this, make me a fake, change some things of it so it doesn't fall in the hands of the wrong people. And as she's spending all of her free time with Victor in the dark hot library, looking over his shoulder and being cutie, she's like, what is this? What is this weird magic thing? What's going on? I loved the premise of it. I am an academic. If I was a millionaire, I would be one of those people that has a degree in everything. A serial college goer. I would be taking classes when I'm 80 still if I had the money to. I would have a degree in everything. I love learning, and this just scratched my academic brain so well. I loved it so much, and Victor is precious. He is... It's got supernatural elements to it. I don't want to like, it's not even like said on the back of the book, so I don't want to spoil stuff, but he's got some supernatural to him, and he's just hot and British and like so like sweet and caring, but also like mob boss I'll kill you in like the perfect way, and there's such like a nice found family of it. I want to physically have this book in my hands, and I want there's such a potential for there to be like companion novels for it, like there is Bride and Mate, and I want it so bad. The found family of it is so nice. I love it. I still am thinking about it constantly. I'm like, I will like DM someone on Etsy to custom bind me this book if I type it out for them. Like, I want it in my hands so bad. I love it. I adore it. Please go listen to it. You can listen to it on Spotify, Amazon, Audible. But it's incredible. It's one of my favorite things. I'm so glad that I stepped out of my comfort zone for a little bit of an audiobook. I'm obsessed with it. I love it so much. I could talk about it for hours. It scratched my academic brain in a way that hasn't been scratched in a while. So it's got like the scientificiness of like all of her love hypothesis and everything. Added supernatural element of like Bride and Mate. So like if you've read all of like love hypothesis and stuff and were like me and you're not sure if you're gonna like Bride or Mate, this is a good spot to start for her supernatural thing. If you've only read Bride or Mate and you don't know if you're gonna like her contemporary romance, this is a good meeting point for there. I think it combines her areas really well, and I adored it. I loved it. Last but not least, I read Red City by Marie Lu. This is my Owl Crate addiction. This is my Owl Crate edition, which is stunning. I only ended up 3-starring this. I thought it was okay. Marie Lu also wrote the Sky Hunter duet, which I haven't talked about in a while. But when I first started this channel, I talked about it constantly because it's one of my favorite like YA duets ever. And this is the only other thing by hers that I've ever read. This is a little bit more adult. This is, again, like dark academia, academic rivals things. This is secret societies. It's giving cat and mouse. If you've read like any of like Chloe Gong's books, I think this would be right up your alley if you liked Chloe Gong books. 2 different secret societies. They use alchemy magic. So it's like the art of transformation. You're like messing with elements and like molecules and shit. Big high brain stuff. And there's secret societies that are at war with each other. They like in the background run the world. They pull the strings in government, everything. These 2 different branches don't like each other because they are on different sides of the government. They use their alchemy in different ways. Some of them are more aggressive with it, some of them are not. They have different trainings. But we have 2 kids, Sam and Ari. Sam is the daughter of a single mom who grew up pretty poor. Ari is just like plucked away from his family in India, very Babel style, and is forced to be an academic because his adopted dad wants him to be, and he's abusive and weird. Very Babel of it all. But they go to like normal public school together. The #1 rule in Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. So they're both in these secret societies learning the same magic. Neither one of them know it and they can't talk about it. They are friends throughout school. It's very much the immediate, like they see each other and are in love and don't know how to tell each other because they're kids. They are each other's kind of like found family, but they always have this line where they never cross of how we talk about things, but we don't talk about ourselves. We don't ask each other questions about our personal life because we can't talk about them. They graduate school and they never see each other again until 10 years later at this basically like big mob boss meeting where they see each other face to face the first time and realize they are on opposing sides of this alchemy war. They are both the right-hand men and women of the syndicate leaders set to take things over, and it kind of turns into a cat and mouse game. Enjoyed it, but at times it felt just kind of like simple and repetitive. It felt like over and over again the point was reiterated that like we can't be together but I want to be. Like that part just, it was like I get it. I'm aware. And it takes a while to even get there. The first 200 pages are just 200 pages. First, like almost half of it is just like explaining alchemy and their education for it, which is like fine, but I feel like that part of it could have been shaved down a little bit and just the meeting of them could be a little bit less kind of repetitive. So there were points of it where I was like annoyed a little bit, but the overarching story was good and entertaining. I just feel like there's other books that have done kind of the cat and mouse, Romeo and Juliet, opposite mafia sides a little bit better than what this was. I don't know, Marie Lu, I think from what I know, the most recent thing she's even written since the Sky Hunter stuff, but I would definitely want to read more of her stuff. This just didn't hit the same way Sky Hunter did. I don't know, if it seems up your alley, if you like a Chloe Gong, like these moral delights stuff, if you like an academic thing, Babel and all that, this might be up your alley. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't my favorite thing I ever read. This is everything that I have read this month of November was still a pretty good reading month for it being a holiday season. Going into December, taking it pretty easy on myself. I've already passed my reading goal, so I don't feel like I need to rush to meet it or anything, which if you don't hit your reading goal, just use the same goal for next year and try again. It's not that big of a deal. But I have a couple things lined up. I only have a couple holiday specific books that I want to read right now. Everything else is just kind of on vibes. The week of Thanksgiving this month, I took off from not posting. I will probably do the same thing again the week of Christmas. This last month there'll probably only be 3 uploads this month instead of 4. That's just what works best for me having to do a lot with my family. I hope you guys have a safe and happy holiday season. I appreciate you guys for being here and hanging out with me. I love and appreciate you so much. If you want to follow me anywhere, all my stuff is linked down below. I'm usually most active on my Instagram if you care to see what I'm doing day to day wise. I love you guys. Have a safe and happy holiday season. I love you so much. And I will see you guys next week or somewhere else on the internet. Love you. Bye.